Welcome back to the next video in the Claude Cowork course. Now we are going to show you step by step how you can install Claude Cowork on your desktop, whether it is Windows or Mac, how you can activate it and get started using this personal AI agent right for your own benefit. So, obviously, first of all, you need to consider system requirements, right? But if I would broadly say if you have a Windows computer or MacBook that is less than 2 years old, you can definitely run Claude Cowork without any problems. Probably even if it is 3 to 4 years old, right? Depending maybe on the complexity of tasks that you're going to do. Now, these are the requirements as per the Claude website, right? So you can have a look at them, but it might change over time when you see this video. So the newest settings, of course, will always be in the Claude documentation itself. Keep in mind that you need to have installed Claude Desktop in order to use Cowork because it's working on your computer with your folders and files, right? So it will not really work in the browser. And yeah, so those are the requirements. Now, how to go right. The second thing that you need to keep in mind is you need to have a subscription to Claude Pro or to Claude Max in order to be able to use Cowork, right? So you cannot use it with a free account. But for most of you, the Claude Pro subscription will be enough. If you do a monthly subscription and monthly payment, you pay $20 at the moment, which is March 2026, so it might change, but I don't think it is going to increase. And you can use Cowork with Claude Sonnet, which is the best everyday model, you could say, and you can really run very well, basically all tasks that Cowork can work with. Just if you're a power user, you might need to upgrade to Claude Max. There's two types of Claude Max plans. One is basically one has the 5x token consumption, right? So you can use 5 times more compared to Claude Pro. If you do the 200 version, you basically get a 20x on this one, right? So that is unlimited potential, really. But of course, that only makes sense if you're a super power user. So I would suggest just get Claude Pro, work with it, and then you can check if you run into limitations, if you're really such a power user, but that it's unlikely going to happen. And then, of course, if you have a team or enterprise subscription, you might need to talk to the person responsible in your company who's working with this. But if you have Teams or enterprise account, he will also have access to Cowork, depending, of course, on the seats and admin controls. All right, so now we've talked about the modes. I want to show you the installation, right? So just go to Google, enter download Claude Cowork. And you should probably get to this entry here. And then depending on whether you have Mac OS or Windows, you just click here, you download it, and you install it like any other app. Right. And then slides. So you remember the mode selector we have talked about in an interface video, right? Again, remember you have those 3 modes. You have chat, you have Cowork, and code. Chat is like ChatGPT, or the normal Claude, and Cowork, this is where you work. So I will show you another simple task, right? And that's exactly the prompt that I recommend you use if you have installed Claude Cowork on your computer, and you just give it access to a file, to a folder with files that are ideally, you create a duplicate folder, you just copy one, and there's no important files in there, right? But you just have some dummy files that you can use for this exercise. And also to just check that Claude is working. So we'll copy this prompt, right? And then it's going to browse the directory, identify the file types, and write us a summary. So I'm here in Claude now. I will choose a different folder. I will give it access to messy downloads. Now I need to confirm, yes, right? But like I've said before, I will not click always allow. I will only click allow. So only in this task, it has access to the files in this folder. I click on allow, and now I will paste the prompt, right? Telling it list all the files in this folder and tell me what type each one is, right? That's a very simple prompt, but it will show you that Claude Cowork can access the files, it can read them, and analyze them, which would, of course, be also prerequisite if you wanted to order these files in some way. So I click on Let's Go. Now it's working on it, right? Here again, we have the list of tasks. Here we have the progress bar. It could be that it doesn't need it because it's such a simple task, right? Here's everything. The folder you selected. This is important. Right. So it lists us all the tasks, and it's kind of just telling us shortly what's in the file, right? But this is kind of proven that it can access it, and then it might go on and suggest us how it can order the files in this folder, for example. Right. Now, there is something important that I want to talk about with you, which is the Claude.md file, right? So because in Claude Cowork, we only have the context, right? It's running in sandbox, and whatever we're doing with the task right now, it would be deleted, the knowledge of that. Not the created files, but the knowledge of that would be deleted if we close Claude Desktop now. So that's why Claude is usually creating a Claude.md file, right? This file is an important context file that would allow Claude Cowork to continue working on this project at a later date, right? So if you close Claude Desktop now and you come back in 2 days from now and you want to work in this folder again on this task, you would start a new task, give Claude Cowork access to that folder, and then Claude would be looking for a Claude.md file in this folder. And if it finds that file, because it is there, that file would have a description about the tasks that it has been working on, what the folder structure looks like, and generally what this is all about, right? So then in this, that would allow Claude to continue working here at a later date. And that is important, right? So here it's Claude.md. You could create it and give it instructions, but you could also just say, please create a Claude.md file to document what we have been working on in this task and folder. So a good practice that you can have is at the end of any task that you do, you always ask Cowork to create a Claude.md file in the project folder. Now, it may not be necessary for very simple tasks if you just order a few files, but it's still a great practice because it will always help you to have documented what you've done and to return at a later date and remember and help Cowork remember what you have done here and how you can continue, right? So let me now just give you a look what this file looks like, what is written here. That is not here. Right, so we just use text edit. But so here you have a look. See, basically that's kind of like a project documentation, right? So Claude is just summarizing itself, what it has done, what we did, folder contents, CSV file, right? Again, that file would look much more complex if we had done a much longer task. But this file is very important if you have more complex projects that you want to continue working on at a later date, right? So always tell Cowork at the end of the project, at the end of the session, please create a Claude.md file in the project folder and document what we have been working on in this project and what the context is, right? That is really an important practice. It will be very useful for you. All right. That's it, basically, right? And next, we're going to look at your Cowork task, and we'll just show you another task about how you can use Claude Cowork, for example, to organize files on your desktop.